Week once again, where it is time for Geek Speak. And let us know if there's any issues with the video feed or any issues. We were playing around with Restream, so we think we got it all working fine, but you never know. So definitely let us know. Anyway, today we are talking about how to maximize your distribution of your content. You've put all this work into it, and now you need to know how to get the most out of it and get it as far reach as possible. And today I'm going to be presenting with Rena. My name is Phelan. I work at Seymour Digital Media, where we focus on search marketing. And I'm joined today by
Rena Little from Little Works Indie Media, and we have a digital marketing agency here in Vancouver.
Awesome. And so to start off, when we were talking about this, this is going to be building on a lot of there was another live that you and Pip did about maximizing your content, and this is going to be
That's
building
right.
off of that, where it's not just maximizing the ways of your content, but also how are you going to get the message out there, and what are you going to do in order to get it as far in as front of as many people as possible. I don't know why I was tripping over my words there.
Yeah, that's one of my big pet peeves is when everybody puts all of the focus on content creation and very little focus on distribution,
Yeah,
because producing content that doesn't get in front of anyone is just as bad as not creating content at all. So
yeah,
it's a marriage. It's really a marriage. And in fact, most people in their plans, they could be focusing way more on distribution than content in order to exhaust that content, get the most out of it. So with that
yeah.
in mind, Phelan, let's take a look at our list. What did we come up with for
So
these
one
good
of the
people today?
so one of the ones that we talked about was like I've heard it described as called dead linking, and so
Right.
it was a strategy that I've seen on the Ahrefs, their YouTube channel, which is really good. If you do any SEO, definitely, even if you're not using their tool, the strategies that they have are really good, and this is one of them, where basically you look for sites that are related to yours. Maybe they're mentioning blog posts and they link out to other people, and then that link has died.
Right.
They have tons of tools. We're going to leave one in the comments that's called Dead Link Checker, that is by Ahrefs, and you can scan your sites potentially so that they would have, if they have a dead link on there, you can find out. And then from there, what you could do is you can reach out to them and say, hey, website owner, I absolutely love your content. And I especially love this page. I noticed that this link was dead. Hey, I just recently wrote a blog post that it goes over this topic and even expands a little further by mentioning this. So you show that you actually have read it because it needs to have an
That's right.
actual human touch. And then
Yeah.
you reach out, you're being helpful because dead links are bad. They're the number one thing that Google hates. Users hate them, Google hates them. So if you can help the people doing that to solve that problem for their own site, then it's a win-win for everyone.
That's right. So that's a little bit more of an advanced
Yeah,
when you've got all the other stuff
yeah.
distribution wise going. So it should have probably been at at the end, but it's
Oops.
good. And the other thing I wanted to mention, no, it's totally cool. It's
Yeah,
good. It's but one of the things that I wanted to say is that for those of you that don't recognize dead link, it's the same as a 404 error. Also called a broken link.
yeah,
So just to make that clear, because this is a new thing for me, and I'm really excited about this new thing that we can add to our roster of things. Generally speaking, when we talk about distribution, we're talking about social, off-page SEO, and email marketing. So where are we sending that content as part of your regular ongoing list of deliverables on your
yeah,
monthly package or marketing plan. And
yeah,
and then that's just a really fun extra one if you're already hitting those basic um, distribution methods. So let's talk about the email and what's important with email, shall we?
yeah.
Can we go from the
Definitely.
bottom of the list to the top? I almost think it makes more sense that way.
Yeah, I think so as well. Yeah, because I think
Okay,
we were all like excited about the really
I
advanced
know.
stuff and forgot, and then worked our way down to the more basic stuff. So yeah, it's
Right.
definitely
So
list building opportunities. Yeah, they're definitely super important.
Definitely. So one thing that we want to think about is not just sending the email newsletter to our list. We want to make sure that we're always updating and building that list because as we've spoken about before, I'm sure Phelan's on the same page as me on this, is that you own pretty much you own your website if it's self-hosted and you own your email list. And those are the two things that you really have control over. And a great list can help you with a lot of things, not just your email marketing. So, where do we put those list building tools? Well, everyone knows about the list sign up forms that, probably if you have MailChimp or Constant Contact or any of those, you've got those list sign up forms. And where are you putting them? So there are opportunities obviously on your website, and then Facebook has a really nice integration. I don't really find too many people signing up that way, but I would still put it there just in case for those odd people that find you that way. What other places do you think, Phelan?
Well, you could also pair it with things like this are live here. So, say you're doing
Mm-hmm,
some content, you're further expanding it, and then you leave a link that goes to a page where they can sign up for a giveaway, and
mm-hmm.
then they're on your list. So, this has lots of opportunities where you can get your reach out there by both doing a live discussing what's on the content as well as, there's a bonus that's on the page. And so, there's ways that you can do videos and have it be in the comments where they could sign up to get additional information or
Yeah,
a really awesome giveaway that you're like, this is really going to help you if you do lots of, I don't know, like YouTube shows. Here's my
yeah.
3 steps, and then they kind of read a little bit, and then they have the downloadable.
Cool. Yeah. So downloadables, lots of people know those as landing pages with the free giveaway, which
Yeah,
is usually a downloadable document
yeah.
or a webinar sometimes. It's also contests, which actually we didn't talk about, Phelan, but just
Oh yeah.
came to me as you were talking about that. Contests are can be a good way. You sometimes don't get your targeting rate on contests, and the unsubscribe rate can be a little bit higher, but it's still worth it for some types of businesses. Um, it's the same thing with downloadables. You're not always going to be getting people that are going to want to convert into your clients, but if you're giving away good value, um, you're building the list. There are some of those people, so you get a lot of those people, and then you find the small group of people that you can convert in the end.
Yeah.
And the other thing that I was thinking about that list building, oh yes, and in real life, when we get back to in real life, every opportunity should be a list building opportunity. So when you're onboarding new clients, you should be getting them express consent to put on your newsletter list. If you are giving a talk at some event, you want to make sure that there's a way to encourage people to sign up to your newsletter list. If you're at conferences, all of those things. And of course, there are legal things that you need to know about. So if you're unfamiliar with the Canadian anti-spam legislation, I know a lot of people are watching in Canada. You want to make sure that you understand the difference between the opt-in newsletter signups and the American opt-out newsletter sign-up rules. So that's a really big distinction that a lot of people don't know. And we'll put we should put a castle link in the comments too. I'll do that later.
Okay.
All
Yeah.
right,
Yeah. For
so
sure.
I think we hit most of the list building.
Yeah.
And so the next one on our thing were the blog partnerships, which I think Phelan and I, or was it Greg and I forgot now. One of us went into this. One of you guys and I went into this on one of the previous
Yeah.
videos,
It was
which
when
will
it
also,
was you and I
was
where
that
we talked
you? Oh,
about search
good. Oh, good.
operators. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. And
That's
so
right.
go
Search
back to that
operators.
one. Really good
Yes.
opportunities
Yes.
to make it super easy for you to find a lot of guest blogging opportunities.
That's right. And that's great. And when you had mentioned earlier about the Href ideas and how you can actually contact people that have dead links on their site so that you can fix their dead links for them or help them solve that problem. I actually get a lot of people who make tools. So I have a social media sanity tool list on my blog, on my website. And I get people who find that blog post and they probably do the same thing. They do the searches like you taught us in that other video. And then they send me emails that with their tools and they say, "Hey, I've got this cool, I saw your blog post of tools. Here's our great tools. Would you like to add it to your list?" And it's, of course I want to add it to my list.
Yeah.
And of course they want me to add it to the list. So it's actually really, it can work really well that way too. So you know, everybody thinks that those emails that you get are there's something suspicious about them, but some of them are actually cool, and you want those you want to check into those cold call email thingies sometimes to see if it is actually a good fit.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I strongly recommend. Not everyone is being, malicious or spammy out there. Some people
Yeah,
actually are trying to provide it. It's kind of hard to, separate the wheat from the chaff there, but it's
that's
definitely worth
true.
it.
Yeah. Okay, so we have other list building oh no, we did that.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Uh,
And with your list, but the other thing is, so once you've got your list going, the one thing for distribution that everyone needs to make sure that they're doing is that they're not putting all of their information in the newsletter. You want snippets, like little introductions, just enough
yeah.
to get people psyched and interested, and then feed them back to that information, the full piece of information that's on your website, because that link back and traffic to your site is super important. And you know that your list is your audience. So they're the ones that are really going to click on that link and get back to your website because they're already interested.
Yeah, exactly. And also, just kind of building out that a slightly more advanced technique, but it's really useful for
Mhm.
email marketing, is keeping track and segmenting people if they go to certain pages,
Right.
or if they do certain actions, because then you can be even more specific. So, you're not being spammy. This person's gone to the SEO page, downloaded your SEO PDF. And so you can definitely mark them as a person that is interested in SEO. So when you do have this, they're definitely going to be more interested than someone who went to your, I don't know, YouTube creators page, and because they're going to want different content from you. So just things like that to also bear in mind as to keeping track of it. And again, it's slightly more advanced, but it's definitely ways that you can be a even better marketer, is
You
by
know,
right
we
message to
should
the right
put
time.
yeah, we should put segmenting as a topic for a future video, because not only does segmenting help you um, um, get the right information to the people, but it also helps you with your return on investment numbers. So if you're making, it's a weird little thing because it's not really cheating, but it's like if you make your newsletter go to a more targeted audience, then your open rates are usually much higher than average. So it can look really good in that sense. And the other thing I want to mention about email list building is that even if people unsubscribe, the funny thing about it is that you can still take that list and create ads on Facebook without breaking any Canadian anti-spam legislation. So
Yeah.
that's really helpful. So your unsubscribes, you don't want to ever delete them. You want to keep them as unsubscribed so that you can export that list and use it in advertising. Um, Okay, so what do we got next then, Phelan?
So we were talking about, platforms that you want to be prioritizing,
Oh,
and so
right.
yeah, and so what we had talked about is, you and I have had a lot of success with our clients using Google My Business, especially
Yes.
local service businesses. Google is definitely strongly emphasizing for anyone who's posting consistently on Google My Business that their numbers have been going up. You and I
Yeah.
have both seen it independently. So that's definitely one that is super important. And again, you're also just limited. So you have to do a little snippet that's a little teaser that explains this, and it will link back to the blog post where it goes into more detail.
Yeah.
But it's definitely one yeah, we're pushing for more and more.
Yeah.
Um,
So basically what we're talking about is when you have a blog post or a web page that you're sharing on your social, you're going to share it on as many social accounts as you have. This is where Greg and I differ in some ways. We talked about this in a previous day. Is Greg out there? I have no idea. Speak up, Greg, if you're there. But generally speaking, he's right in the sense that you don't want to overwhelm yourself and sign up for too many, spaces for social, but there's a lot of automation that can happen. So what my philosophy is pick the ones where you know your target market is and focus on those ones as being your social media avenues, right? So that's where you're going to provide engagement and you're going to check in regularly and all of that. But collect all of your social platform accounts that you can and treat those as off-page SEO opportunities where it's really about those link backs that's really going to count. So on Google My Business, I don't get any comments on anything that I put up on Google My Business for my clients at all. I think there's probably a big fat zero. But what I have noticed is um, the organic traffic numbers just consistently go up every single month. So I think that it's incredibly value in that way. It just works differently. When people go to Google, they're already in the market for whatever to solve whatever problem that they've got, and they're doing either research on the problem solutions, or they are doing research on the solution providers usually at that point, or they're absolutely ready to buy. So it's just functions different than social media spaces where it's more you're disrupting people that don't realize they have a problem yet, usually, or they haven't started doing the research because they don't know what the solutions could be, and they're more top level in the top level funnel than the bottom level funnel like they are when they're doing Google searches.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, intent based marketing is definitely super important to have and pairs well with doing stuff at the top of the funnel that's, kind of more display ads for Google ads or Facebook ads where you're kind of just like going, hey, we think you're interested in these things. And then you're trying to get in front of them that way. So it's
Yeah.
definitely one where that you want to kind of use both together.
Yes.
And so one other thing that we noticed in the social platforms that's kind of in the in between area is YouTube, because YouTube Shorts, again, because they're building out these new tools, they give them preferential treatment. And so I've seen a lot of content creators that use the Shorts to do a little preview of a longer video that they're doing. So that's another way. You can also have it where Shorts, the video that you would create there, could also be used on Google My Business, because I believe they're the exact same length. They're 60
Short. Yeah.
seconds. So
Yeah.
you can reuse it there. And again, like I'm sure you guys talked about with maximizing your content. Once you have a 60-second one, there's lots of stuff you can do with a 60-second video, with advertising, with posting
Yeah.
opportunities. So it's definitely one where a lot of platforms are standardizing these little shorts, so it makes it easy for you guys to use it. And definitely always remember that if they're building a new tool, probably they're going to give it the preferential treatment in their feeds, because why would they put all this effort into a tool that they're not going to promote?
That's right. So the algorithm loves the new product. So that could be Instagram Reels and the YouTube Shorts. And then I'm just trying to, oh yeah, and Facebook has come up with something weird. I forgot what it's called again. That's like that. But
Oh,
I have to look into that. Why do I forget these things?
yeah.
And I
Well,
think,
because there's just so much that just comes out of Facebook that it
yeah,
just sort of like,
yeah.
flood the
And those
market with.
short, yeah, exactly. And those short videos will also go up on Twitter nicely too. So what you want to
Ooh.
do is really, know what's new, because that's what's pushing. We were talking about last Thursday that links are not performing well with social in terms of algorithm, but maybe we want that link back for the on on page SEO off page SEO link back opportunity. So you have to
Yeah.
decide what are the tactics you're using for each type of content and where you're putting your content. And there are different kinds of strategies that are happening. They're hitting all of your clients in their buyer's journey. That's one aspect that you have to consider. You have to consider what's happening on the platforms, like what content is getting the algorithm. You have to consider where your ad spend is, and then you can automate the stuff that doesn't matter. So you've pretty much figure out what your priorities are, and then that's helping you build your strategy. You know,
Yeah.
that's so the strategy is a whole bunch of tactics that are working the campaigns within that strategy.
Yeah, absolutely. And it goes back to what you were saying earlier about the matching it to the intent to that section of the funnel. Where
Yeah,
and all it pretty much always goes back to, you're building awareness, that letting them know that they have a problem, like
yeah,
what even is their problem. Then they're comparing, and then they're intending to buy. So you're always matching your content and your strategies to that idea, because you
yeah,
need to have it mapped out. Otherwise, you're just making content without any real direction to it. And the whole idea is that, like we were saying with the segmenting, is it's personalization. I think is the word that I think of, where it is, we're speaking to because the internet is basically it's a cacophony of everyone that's online. The more that we can do to narrow it down to speak to that one person, the better it is. And so that's what I think is really important and can easily get forgotten about in the mix.
Yeah. And so distribution needs to also, yeah, so targeting, knowing your target market, where they are, and then actually utilizing the targeting tools. And for me, that's a lot about Facebook ads and Instagram ads because Facebook still has the better targeting options in their ads than any other platform. But again, if you're not using ad spend, then you want to be thinking about that algorithm more so than people who are actually using ads. So
Yeah.
let's go on to the next one, which is listings, because this is another thing that people don't really think about because it's not particularly social minded, social media minded, but it actually fits in the category of oh, I always get it confused, off page SEO, which is the list building, right? Off page
Yeah.
SEO. Got that right?
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. That's it's and so I would say that this is the reverse when we were talking about it is kind of almost the reverse of what our first
Mhm.
tactic was, where it's also you're keeping track of people who are linking to you so that in case they go away, you don't have
Mhm.
a 404 on your website. So keeping track of who's linking to you, there's tools that can help you with that, like Screaming Frog's a really good one. You scan the website, a really good tool in general, really recommend it. And so it's a tool that really helps with you finding who's linking to you. You can keep them on a spreadsheet and then make sure that they're not missing. And you don't have to do it all the time. It's like maybe once every 6 months because most websites are pretty static. They're very rarely do they just drop off, and it's pretty quick to find them. So that's definitely one that you want to keep in mind. Um, and
The
it's definitely a good thing to do to make sure that your site is being staying healthy. There's
Yeah,
there are
and it
also tools like Ahrefs and SEMrush that also do a lot of these automated. Like, oh, they'll automate it so when they scan everyone you're linked to, they'll be like, hey, you've got a dead link now. Might want to fix that. And so there's
yeah. And so if you want a low tech version of all this without getting a tool, this is what we do sometimes and what I usually tell my clients to do. So off page SEO are all of those list building, those listing, business listing services. They're usually free. Sometimes they offer a free version and sometimes they offer a premium version, but it's like the Yellow Pages and Yelp and all of those kinds of accounts that you can find. And so what I usually do is I just take a search of my business because they will often pull um, your data for you and create an account that you can go and claim. And so first I do that. There's usually about three pages, 3 or 4 pages of those. And when I'm doing that, I go in, I claim them, I add the appropriate information, I update them, I put in everything that I can to optimize them, and then I put that link in my spreadsheet. And then whenever you make changes, it can be as simple as if you've done um, I don't know, a telephone change, a telephone number change, or if you want to update your photos, or if you want to, some people have changed their URLs, in fact, and you want to just make sure everything's up to date. I had one company change their name recently. So it's great to have that spreadsheet. And as Phelan was saying, you want to check that once every 6 months. That's probably good. Even once a year would be fine.
yeah,
And then all you have to do is like when you go and you check to them and you can just check them, say, yep, all the information is still correct. And I have an opportunity to upload a new photo. So I'm going to upload that new photo, especially if you change. A lot of people changed locations for their business during the pandemic. And that sort of stuff. So having that spreadsheet is going to make this work easy. So the first step is to Google your name and find all the listings that actually exist out there. The second step is to, and this is also good for practitioners who move clinics. The second step is to search free business listings, and you'll get another number of pages there that you can go and collect those and create accounts on those platforms that they haven't set something up for you. And that's a great way. But what you don't want to do is too many of them all at once. I think, Phelan, you're the SEO expert. What I heard was that Google doesn't love a whole lot of those at once, so you do a few of them every month. Is that correct, or am I misguided?
So this, what you're talking about is it's a process that is called NAP listings. So it's name, address,
Okay.
phone number, and so that's like it's like a subsection of it, and it's very closely tied to local SEO, because you
Okay.
do have the name of the business, N A is the address, and then P is the phone number, and so you're making sure it is consistent across the web. That's also super important.
The
Um,
format is what you're talking about, the
yeah.
consistent of the
So
format. So if you use dashes or if you use dots or if you use
yeah,
the parentheses, you need to be
yeah,
the
exactly.
same across the board. Okay.
And road instead of RD, like in the address. All of that is
Right.
super important to Google. Google loves it to be consistent. It doesn't like surprises because it's machines, so they love it to be consistent, and so that's super important as well. Generally, I've from my experience, everything that I've read, you can do a whole lot at once. The issue that you're going to run
Okay.
into is, well, Google, because you're making sure that something's correct across the
Mm-hmm.
internet. So Google's going to
Mm-hmm.
reward you for that in some ways.
Mm-hmm.
Um, if it's over, I think if it's happening too much and they suspect automation, I think that they
Oh,
might do
I
you for
see.
that. Like, so if you
Okay.
fix 300 listings in a single day, they're going to
Right.
be a
That's
little
too much.
suspicious about
Okay.
that. But, if you're fixing, a bunch of like 50 in a day, then that's reasonable that it's more person. So I'd have to look into the details of that, but I haven't heard.
Right.
All I know is like the top thing that I've always read is definitely do it. You need to do this if you're a local business because
Mm-hmm.
it just reinforces your own. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Also, if you do have a Google My Business listing, that will be taken as gospel over your own website because Google
Oh,
owns the Google My
interesting.
Business listing. Yeah, they just made note of it because to them that's gospel. Their
Okay.
Google My Business listing that is the point of truth, and then everything else is compared to it.
Oh,
And so,
interesting. So I do have one question for you, just to clarify for the audience out
mhm,
there and also for myself, is that
yep,
I know that or what I've heard is that the address and telephone number should also be the same on your website, and it should be the same everywhere you put it on other people's websites. So if you're doing events with a partner, then they need to put your website the same as the formatting that you usually use. So it's got to be consistent across all online entries. Is that
yeah.
right?
Oh yeah, no,
Okay.
it's absolutely
Okay.
to the letter, exactly
Okay.
consistent,
Good.
super important, and it also makes your life easier because it's not like you have to write it
Yeah.
out. You just copy paste, and then it's just
Yeah.
copy paste, and then. But
Yeah.
yes, Google absolutely loves to death that you make a consistent NAP, and
So
there's also all kinds of tools. If you look up NAP listing tools, there's
right.
Bright Local
So
Viking.
what happens then when you've decided that it's going to be the country code dash the area code dash the telephone number with dashes, and then you get to a listing and they automatically put that area code in parentheses? What happens then?
I
Should
would
we move
then
every
Yeah,
parentheses?
yes, I would.
Yeah.
We are
Okay.
all at the whims of the Google gods. Basically, it's
Okay.
the way I think of it. Yeah, it's basically at the end of it, we're at their mercy, and they love consistency, and so we're gonna
Okay.
give it to them. It's
So
basically kind of
I'll okay. And
yeah.
so it almost sounds like what we should be doing then is actually including that format in the branding guide. That would
Yes,
make
I would
sense.
probably. Yeah, I would definitely include that, especially if you're getting a new website, making sure that it's consistent on the contact page as it is on the
Right.
Google My Business listing, and that's going to be super important to Google.
Mm-hmm.
Before, because we're almost out of time, I
Running
did
out
want
of
to mention
time.
Yeah, well, there
Yeah.
was one more tool that I did want to mention, especially for finding things like we're talking about events, publications, people on Twitter for guest blogging opportunities. A really useful tool is the one made by Rand Fishkin, formerly of Moz, and it's called Spark Toro.
Oh,
So
right.
Spark and then Toro. Um,
We'll put that
and
link in the comments
yeah,
too,
I'll leave
right?
the link in
Okay.
the comments. But it's definitely one that I it's really useful. You can get like 10 free searches a month, which is awesome for getting started and getting used to the tool. But it's definitely one that I would recommend for getting outside of the box, thinking on a certain subject or a certain topic, or and it just gives you avenues to find new people to connect with as well. And so it just helps you
Great.
build your audience and do some audience research.
And so the last question was is completely unrelated. I see that so we didn't restream, which means that we weren't able to see any of the comments. Is
Oh,
that correct?
oh,
Because it seems really quiet. Or do you have questions that
we
we
have
could?
there was no questions. That's the only
Okay,
one.
cool.
Yeah,
All
no,
right.
I did manage to get
Okay.
Restream to work. Apparently, it was working.
Oh,
So,
okay. Okay,
yeah,
good. Yay,
yeah.
right on. Well done, Phelan.
All right, yeah. So, well, it was a little touch
Okay.
and go, but we're happy.
Yeah.
There was no other the I think the interesting one is this is from Pip, and she was just saying that segmenting would be a great topic. I definitely agree.
Yeah.
There's lots of really interesting and cool things that you could do with it, whether A/B testing or you know. So we'll definitely
Yeah.
talk about that in the future. But that
Where
is we are coming
what
up
is
on
coming up?
time.
Yeah, what is
Uh,
coming up for next week? I don't know where
that
the card went on the Trello because I used to know where it was and then I stopped being able to
uh,
know.
I am going
Is Pip
to.
there? Is she looking? Do you know where it is?
I'm trying to go right now to do it. Uh,
I'm sure it's going to be fantastic, whatever it is. Oh, maybe
yeah.
it's just right on our Facebook page.
Um, I'm just scrolling. Sales discovery calls, and what questions to ask
Ah,
with
right.
you and
Excellent.
Pip.
Oh, really? Yay!
Yeah, which
I'm
is
thinking I'm
definitely
going to learn everything. So, because that's not really, I do have a couple of tactics for sales calls, that's for sure, but that's going to be fun. That's going to be
yeah,
great. That's going to be a good
that's
one.
definitely that's definitely sounds like it's going to be an awesome one. So I can't wait
Yeah.
till then. And for
So
now,
next
uh,
Thursday at 11 o'clock,
yeah,
in
Pacific.
the Cyberpunk Geeks, Cyber Geek Punk. I always get that mixed up. Which one are we?
Cyber. I can't remember on the top of my head right at this minute either. But in any
Cyberpunk Geek Marketing Mixer and the
there we
Facebook
go.
group. If you're watching this elsewhere, join us there.
Yeah,
And
for sure.
until next week, I will see you next week. Oh, there's also happy hour tomorrow night at 4 p.m. Pacific time. Join me there.
Yeah,
Thanks.
and you'll see it in the events for the group as well. All
Right.
right. Okay. Bye for now.
Have a good week.